Come on, I haven't done that in a couple of parts, but welcome back, everybody, to my 2025 DVD and Blu-ray collection overview. This is part 20, but before we get into this, I just want to show that. Just wanted to show you guys. This is where the box sets lived. So we'll get into these two shelves later. But I did switch it up a little bit, kind of moved a couple sets around, and kind of tidied it up a little bit. I think it looks a lot better than it did, at least in my opinion. And then so now what I'm gonna do is all of the ones on top here, but instead of standing up, trying to fight with all this stuff, I'm just gonna take them off the shelves here, and I'll just sit down on the floor and go through each pile, just kind of make it a little bit easier. So we'll be getting into that in a minute here once I get I was going to stop the camera, but I'll just put the camera down and start moving some stuff around, and we'll go get into this in a minute. So don't you go changing. Alright, so I kind of like this backdrop a little bit better than sitting in the chair and doing it. So yeah, I'm just going to go through. I'll just do as many piles as I can within the hour limit here. But first up, let's go ahead and get rolling. We got ZZ Top live in Germany, 1980, which this is from the Rock Palast show, which I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that show is still on, if I'm not mistaken. But I think this might have been, at one point, it was a Walmart exclusive, maybe. But I think now you can find it anywhere. But this is ZZ Top at their peak. And this is when a lot of the music DVDs, they were coming in this like half CD, half DVD case. I don't know why they were doing that. I guess to save on plastic. I don't know. But that's what they were doing at the time. And then next up, we got a couple of Antonio Sabato Jr. for the three of you that remember who he is. Back in the 90s, he kind of, maybe that was his problem, I don't know, but he kind of dipped his toe into many areas. I think he was on The Bold and the Beautiful. They were trying to make him like this, teeny bopper idol, because he was in a bunch of those type of shows and stuff like that. He was on soap operas. Then he tried to do some action movies and science fiction films. He did a couple for the Sci-Fi Channel. One was called Shark Hunter. The other was called Bugs. I remember watching those back in the day. And again, maybe that was his problem. Maybe he was kind of jumping in too many areas. I don't know. But I liked his stuff. I didn't think he was a bad actor. He did some good stuff. He got blacklisted a number of years ago because he's normal. Because he is a Republican and stuff like that. So he got blacklisted, and he ended up, I remember reading that he had to go get like a regular job. Some Mountain Dew Code Red. And there's nothing wrong with that, but he couldn't get gigs and stuff. But anyway, I do have a couple of his movies here. First up, I actually really like this one. And I don't know. A lot of the stuff that we're going to talk about on DVD, I don't know if any of this stuff will ever get a Blu-ray because of who owns it and where it's at and this, that, and the other thing. So, we shall see. But this is High Voltage, which is actually directed by Isaac Florentine. Isaac Florentine is one of my favorite action directors. He actually started on Power Rangers back in the day. He did a lot of the fight choreography, speaking of Power Rangers. And then he ended up directing a bunch of, directed video movie, like Undisputed 3. I know we covered that already. We'll cover Undisputed 2. We'll cover some of the other ones that he did. But, this one's pretty cool. Shannon Lee, Bruce Lee's daughter, is also in it. William Zabka is in it. There's a bunch of people. Amy Smart is in it. And the weird thing is, half of the time her voice is dubbed by someone else, and then the other half, it's her actual voice. So I don't know what the hell is up with that, but that's strange. But this is a pretty fun B movie. That one I remember used to run on cable a lot, like HBO and Cinemax back in the day, and I used to watch it. Then we have Wolverine, which this is one of those slim DVD cases. I actually like these from Platinum Disc Corporation, who ended up becoming Echo Bridge, for those of you that did not know that. And I think this one was made for TV. I think it was a Fox. I think this was a pilot movie for, I guess they were trying to do a series, and then it ended up not happening. But he's a former Navy SEAL, and then his family gets kidnapped, and he has to go get him. It's not a bad film, and Tracy Lynn is in it from Fright Night 2. I think this was one of the last movies that she did before she retired. And then I think Danny Quinn, who was, I think it was Francis, or not, that was his brother, Francisco. I think that was Anthony Quinn's son, one of his sons. But yeah, little B-movie fun. And then this one, I think it was a different movie, but then they labeled it as the sequel. But this one's Operation Wolverine, Seconds to Spare, which is like a B-movie version of Under Siege 2, basically. They're on a train and stuff like that. But, are these the greatest movies in the world? No, but they're fun little B-movies. But this one I quite enjoy. If you can find this one, it's pretty good. But these aren't too bad. I can watch them. Then we have, in my opinion, one of the most underrated science fiction TV series from the late 90s into the early 2000s, and that would be Roswell. This is the complete series. This is the re-releases. I should get like the older ones that come in the bigger slipcovers and stuff. Maybe one day I'll do that. But I got these at a Kmart back in maybe about 10, 15 years ago. And I think they were like $10 a pop. So that's why I got them. But I really like this show. I remember watching it a little bit back in the day when it was on. But I didn't really see most of it until later. The first season, I think, is really good. I think the first season's the best because it had that. It was trying to be Buffy, but with aliens, and I think there was a good balance there. And then after that, they went in some different directions. They went in some weird directions, and I don't think the show really kept that momentum. But the first season, I still really like. The problem with these DVDs, which is the problem with most TV shows that come out on DVD, is they replaced all the music because they didn't want to pay the licensing fees. And there's a website out there. My laptop is actually on. I'm just not going to. I think it's like Crashdown Cafe or something, and they have a breakdown of what the original music was, and it was big songs like Filter, like Hey Man, Nice Shot, and Take a Picture, and all these other big songs were on the show, and they didn't want to spend the money. Fox at the time didn't want to do that. So there you go. But again, we have the first season, which I still think is the best. Then we have season 2, where they tried to make it more like Star Trek, and a lot of people didn't like that. So, it is what it is, I suppose. And then we have season 3, where the WB canceled the show. UPN actually got this show for a bargain because they got Buffy, but Roswell went with it. So the last season aired on UPN, and then they tried to blend the first season and the second season together, and it didn't work. Because I think the first season, the ratings were pretty good, but I guess the WB was expecting it to be Buffy, because this was 99 when the show started. That was Buffy's peak. From 98 to 2000 was Buffy's peak. After that, it started to drop off, but the ratings were still there, and I guess they wanted, Buffy type ratings, and it wasn't going to happen because not every show was Buffy. So they I think after the first season, there were plans that they were planning to cancel it, but the fans spoke out and said no, give it a chance. And then the second season, things it didn't really improve ratings wise, and then they fucked around with the story and everything, and then like I said, they tried to make it more like Star Trek, and then they canceled it and gave it to UPN, which that network was in worse shape than the WB at the time. So there you go. Then we have the Black Donnellys complete series. This one was a blind buy. No. I think I found it online, but I had heard about this show because it has, well, first of all, Jonathan Tucker, who I like, and then it has Tom Gyrie, who played Smalls in The Sandlot, and then Olivia Wilde before she went full retard. And then there's a Kate Mulgrew is in it. Speaking of Star Trek, from Voyager, she plays the mother. And it's about these Irish brothers that live in Hell's Kitchen in New York, and they have to deal with the mob and stuff like that. It's not bad. It didn't do well. I think it got canceled pretty quickly, and I think only half of the episodes actually aired on TV, and then the other half, I think they aired online. That's when streaming first started coming around, so I guess that was an experiment for them. And I don't think it really worked, but then they put it out on DVD, so, it all worked out. But not a bad show. It does have a cliffhanger ending because, again, they canceled the show. They didn't really give it a shot, so there you go. But good show. I do like it. Next up, we have Bogus with professional retard Whoopi Goldberg, and then Gerard Depardieu, who apparently is a scumbag. What a shock. And then Haley Joel Osment before anybody knew who he was. This is a movie that was always on TV when I was growing up. I used to watch it a lot. It's about Haley Joel Osment's mom, who is actually played by Nancy Travis, who I've always really liked from So I Married an Axe Murderer. She was on the Tim Allen TV series Last Man Standing, which I need to get that on DVD because I do like that. And I got to get Home Improvement. I do not have Home Improvement on DVD, which is one of my favorite sitcoms. I keep wanting to say this year because December is almost over. Christmas is only a couple of days away. But I think in 26 I'll get Home Improvement because that'll be the 35th anniversary for that show. I need to get that one on DVD. But she's in this. I always liked her. A couple other notable people in this movie, but anyway, she gets killed in a car accident, and Whoopi Goldberg adopts Haley Joel Osment, and Gerard Depardieu is his imaginary friend. So yeah, good film. I don't think it did anything at the box office. I think it was a big flop, and I would doubt that this would come out on Blu-ray. Again, we don't know what's going on with Warner Brothers. We don't know if they're selling to Netflix or Paramount or the Muslims or whatever, but it is what it is. But I do like this film. I think it's a good little drama. Can't complain. And we got some more music stuff. We got professional retard Sebastian Bach. This is Forever Wild. Now this is a weird type of DVD because it's half concert and then it's half of Sebastian Bach had a show at the time that was called Forever Wild, where he would just kind of hang out. Like there was an episode where he went with Ted Nugent and they went hunting and stuff like that. Some of that's on here. He went racing with Vince Neil. That's on here. So it's half of that. Like I said, it's half concert and then it's half of that footage, in here. But that show has never come out officially. I can't even find stuff here on YouTube for it, but the little bit that is on this DVD. So there you go. And there's some cool, like there's an extra feature where he goes to New York City to see Drea Di Matteo, because at the time she owned a store, like a clothing store, and that's in here, and they're talking about The Sopranos and stuff like that, which is awesome. So there you go. But Sebastian Bach, I've always been he is a great singer. He still sounds great. He did an album, I think last year, that was really good, that I enjoyed. I haven't heard the whole album. I heard most of it, but and I always loved Skid Row, and I like some of his solo stuff, but he just always was a prick. I mean, even back in the day, this is the guy that wore a T-shirt that, you know, he didn't read the shirt first. Somebody threw this T-shirt up on stage that said "AIDS kills fags dead," and he just put it on without reading it and all this other shit. And he's always been a big mouth and, you know, always trying to fight people and stuff. He was always like that, you know. I don't know why he just can't chill out. And then in more recent years, it's all about politics, and it's like, shut the fuck up, dude. No one, and I see why Skid Row does not want you back in the band. So there's that. Anyway, one of my all-time favorite bands, the Smithereens. This is 10 because there is 10 music videos on here. That's why they call it that. But this is pretty cool. Again, they were always one of my favorite bands. I miss the singer, Pat Denizio. I did get a chance to meet him and such, but very, very cool. Now, what's interesting is their song Blood and Roses, which is the first video on here. That is directed by Albert Pion. That song was featured in the Albert Pion movie Dangerously Close, which I did review on the channel before the channel got shut down. I think earlier this year I did. Not that good of a movie, at least in my opinion, but the soundtrack is killer. But the version on here is the version without the footage from the movie. There's two different versions. But I think it has pretty much all their music videos on here. This was out of print for a while. I got it brand new, pretty cheap, so I don't know, again, what the prices look like. But, you know, I got it for a decent price, so can't complain. And then next up, we have one of the most influential guitar players of all time, and one of my favorites, Michael Schenker, from UFO and early Scorpions, and then, of course, on his own. This is Worldwide Live 2004, which is a full concert on here. Does it have any bonus material? It does not. Well, there's an interview with Michael Schenker, but that's it. But good DVD. I haven't watched this in quite a while, but it's got some good stuff and a little bit of everything. It's got his solo stuff. It's got Scorpion, or no Scorpion stuff. UFO, my bad. So, but I don't think he plays any of, because he only played on Lonesome Crow, which was the first Scorpions album, and then he played on. He's not credited, but he played on Love Drive. But I don't think he ever plays any of that stuff in concert, which is a shame, because Coast to Coast is a killer song. And then we got Damn Yankees Uprising, which is a band that unfortunately will never do anything again. But Damn Yankees was a super group. It was Ted Nugent, Jack Blades, Tommy Shaw, and Michael Cartleone. But at the time, who was the drummer, Michael Cartleone was not well known. After Damn Yankees, he played in. I think he's been in Leonard Skinner for like 30 years. But this is before anybody knew who he was. But love Damn Yankees, especially that first record. This was recorded. This is a full concert at the Rocky Mountain Jam in Denver, and then there's some bonus footage and stuff on here. But that first Damn Yankees record's awesome. The second record's not bad, but by the time that the record came out, grunge had taken over, and of course all the stuff from the 80s wasn't cool anymore. And then, you do get some of the Night Ranger and Styx stuff on here, and then some Ted Nugent solo, which I love that they, incorporated all that. So all good stuff. And I mean, they don't have to tour, but they could at least do an album together. I don't know why. I guess, the albums don't sell and shit like that, because all people care about is songs now. But I would love if they just at least did like an EP, maybe 5 songs or something. That would be killer. But it's probably not going to happen. Wishful thinking. And then we have another one of the most influential guitar players ever, and also one of my favorites, Carlos Santana. This is Supernatural Live, which this was a TV special that aired on Fox, and I actually watched it when it originally aired. And then I picked this up on DVD, which is really cool. And there's a bunch of extras on here. It's got the music videos from the record. It's got interviews and stuff like that. But I love that record, Supernatural, one of my all-time favorites. Actually, one of the highest-selling records of all time as well. But this is really cool. And the problem with, like I was talking about earlier with the Roswell DVDs, the problem with a lot of the music stuff coming out on Blu-ray is getting the clearances. Also, a lot of this stuff was actually shot on video, not film, so yeah, you can clean it up and do what you got to do. The audio would sound really good, but is it going to look amazing? No, because a lot of it was shot on, broadcast video, and a lot of it's like VHS quality too. So it is what it is. But the biggest hurdle for the music stuff is getting the clearances from the people that own the material, the record labels and the ASCAP or BMI, the unions, and then the people that wrote the stuff, and it's just a big mess. So that's why whenever I find, we'll get to plenty more of them later. Whenever I find these old concert DVDs and stuff, I just grab them because a lot of them are out of print, and some go for money. It just depends on the artist. Oh God, I forgot to fix my hair. I'm sorry, I had my headphones on because I was cleaning earlier. My bad. You guys will get over it. So it's just, a lot of it's not going to happen. And also, again, the home music, home video, live concert stuff, it is considered to be outdated by the record labels and such. That's why they throw everything up on YouTube for free, or a streaming service, or it's behind a paywall, because they don't want to spend the money to put them on a disc. I'm old school. I like having them physically. You guys know this. Anyway, next up we've got Buzz Lightyear of Star Command, The Adventure Begins, which is the pilot movie for the series. Why this has never come out on Blu-ray, I have no clue. Also, why the Buzz Lightyear series has never come out on DVD, I don't know that either. You would think it's Toy Story. You would think that Disney would want to make as much money off of Toy Story as they can, because they haven't made enough billions off of it. I just don't understand. But I actually really like this. And yes, Tim Allen did do the voice of Buzz for the pilot movie. He did not do the voice of Buzz for the series. That was actually Patrick Warburton, who played, of course, the Tick. And he was Putty on Seinfeld and a million other things. I love Patrick Warburton. Always really liked his work. But I always liked this. I remember watching it as a kid when it first came out on VHS, because it was direct-to-video. It does not have the chapter insert. But yeah, why this has never come out on Blu-ray, or the Buzz Lightyear series has never come out on DVD, I don't know. You would think it's Toy Story, but whatever, they're just fucking lazy. And we got some more music DVD, just one music DVD here. But we got Huey Lewis and the News Live at 25, which is a pretty cool concert. Where was it recorded, if it says? It does not say. But it just, greatest hits show, stuff like that, because Huey Lewis has, 20 hit songs. I mean, Heart of Rock and Roll, I Want a New Drug, If This Was It, Power of Love, Do You Believe in Love, It's All Right, Heart and Soul. Yeah, it's all hits. It's all greatest hits, and there is some bonus stuff on here too. But always loved Huey Lewis, always was a big fan. And then we got some Reading Rainbow. Take a look, it's in a book. Reading Rainbow. You think this is a game? If you can, already know what I'm talking about. The DMX version is the superior version. But Reading Rainbow, they just released a bunch of random episodes on DVD. I don't think they were anywhere near, completing them. But I only have 3 of them here. So first up, we have Family Matters, and I don't know who did the printing or if this one got fucked up, but you gotta have a fucking concussion to understand this, because it's all dicked up. But oh well. Then we have Ocean Life, and I used to watch the shit out of Reading Rainbow as a kid. I loved watching it. And then I think they brought it back. They did it through like Kickstarter or something to that effect, and it was only on for a little bit. And then LeVar Burton went full retard, so there's that. So there you go. And then we have Music Everywhere. So, and I don't know how many they did, but I have a couple of them, you know. So, again, if I get more, I get more. If not, it's no big deal. Then we have the complete series of The Mummy cartoon. I actually quite like this. I watched this when it was originally on back in the day, and I do quite enjoy this. I cannot complain about it at all. Because it was only... They did what? The first 1, 2, 3, 4... Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13... And then 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13. So it was 2 seasons of 13 episodes apiece. So volume 1 is the first 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 episodes of season 1. And then volume 2 is the rest of season 1 and then the first 4 episodes of season 2. And then volume 3 is the rest of season 2. So there you go. Because season 2, I think they changed the title. It was called Secrets of the Magi or whatever they're called in the movie. I don't remember. But I did like that. I do like that cartoon. I don't know how well it did because it was only 2 seasons. But I do, like I said, I do remember watching it back in the day and liking it. Alright, so next up, we have a bunch of Gary Daniels movies. Always was a big fan of Gary Daniels. I know I showed it in the room tour video, but I do have a Gary Daniels poster on the wall. But always enjoyed his stuff. I think he was one of the more underrated action stars from the 90s, martial arts action stars. He got stuck in the B movie world, but he did make quite a number of enjoyable ones, which of course we'll cover here. But I always liked him. I was really, really happy for him. I was really excited when he was in the first Expendables, because I remember when that came out, and I remember saying to people, yeah, Gary Daniels, and a lot of people were like, who the fuck is Gary Daniels? I'm like, you need to do your homework. So there you go. But he did a bunch of movies with PM Entertainment, which I always enjoy those, including this one. Deadly Target. I think this was the first one he did with them, but this was pretty good. I do like this. I think he's a Hong Kong cop, and then he comes to America. Yeah, he comes to America to get a suspect, and chaos and anarchy ensues. But it's good old PM Entertainment. You know what you're gonna get. You're gonna get gunfights. You're gonna get car chases. You're gonna get explosions. You're gonna get martial arts. You're going to get entertainment. That's what you're getting, and I miss PM Entertainment. But Byron Mann, who was in Street Fighter, I think he's the bad guy, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think he's the villain in this. And then a couple other recognizable people. But pretty good start to his run with PM Entertainment. And then we have Blood Moon, which he did this with Seasonal Film Corporation, who were the people that did the No Retreat, No Surrender movies, among others. This one's cool, too. There's Gary Daniels. He's like a mind hunter. He can think what killers are thinking and stuff like that. And there's a guy going around. He's killing all these martial artists. And the bad guy is actually played by Darren Shalavi. May he rest in peace. So I always enjoyed him. Was very sad when he passed away. And I can't believe, I think he's been gone 10 years. I can't believe he's been gone that long. I remember when he passed. It's still very sad because I think the guy was only in his 40s. He was very young. Just, I think he had a heart attack or something. But, always really liked his work. And it's just heartbreaking to hear that. But he plays the villain in here. Frank Gorshin, the Riddler from the Adam West Batman TV series. He's in here. Rob Van Dam has a cameo. So yeah, pretty cool stuff. But this is a pretty fun martial arts action film if you haven't seen that. Some really good fights in there. Then we have Fist of the North Star, which this is the UK DVD because this actually has extra features. Now, this is not Hong Kong Legends. It doesn't say, or no, hold on. It doesn't say it's Hong Kong Legends, but it actually is Hong Kong. It's the same label, but because it was an American film, they couldn't put the Hong Kong Legends label on that. There was a couple other movies I think American movies they released, but they didn't put the name on the box because again, this is not a Hong Kong film, but it is the same label. But I do like this. I like the original anime. I do remember watching that. Showtime used to run that back in the day. I used to watch it on there. I never read the manga or anything like that because, frankly, I'm not into manga. But I think this movie's pretty fun. You know, unfortunately, it went straight to video, so nobody really saw it until years later. I remember Sci-Fi Channel used to run this a lot. Gary Daniels, it was supposed to be a trilogy, but again, it went straight to video because I don't think they could find a distributor, but oh well. But I do like it. It's pretty fun. It's got some good fights in it. There is a commentary with Gary Daniels on here, which is really cool. And then it's got some making of and stuff on here, but very cool stuff. And then we have the beginning of the R trilogy. So Gary Daniels, for those of you that do not know, Gary Daniels made 3 movies with PM Entertainment, and they all start with the letter R. And these are considered his best films, and, you know, I enjoy all 3 of these. They're all great action film, B-movie action movies. They're all a lot of fun. Got some good fights and explosions and everything, but they are affectionately known as the R trilogy to fans. So we have the first one, which is Rage, which is pretty good, where he gets kidnapped by these bad guys. They want to use him as like a super soldier program. They want to experiment on him and stuff. Mark Metcalf, who played Niedermeyer in Animal House, and he was in the Twisted Sister music videos. He's one of the villains. Peter Jason, who recently passed away, is in this. So a bunch of good people, but this one's good. And then we have probably my favorite of the trilogy, and this is also a Christmas film, but Riot, also with Sugar Ray Robinson. So there you go. Sugar Ray Leonard, my bad. Sugar Ray Leonard. But Gary Daniels plays a British special operations soldier. On Christmas Eve, he has to go rescue this woman, and there's a riot going on in the city. So a lot of fun fights and action in here. Patrick Kilpatrick plays the villain. You can't go wrong with that. But good stuff there. And then we'll get to the final movie in the trilogy in a moment here. But then we have Hawk's Vengeance, which I have only ever seen this movie a couple times. I watched it a couple weeks ago, but I fell asleep because I was exhausted. And I think the last time I watched it, I did the same thing. But I remember, from what I remember, it's okay. It's got some good action, some good fights. But it's basically a remake of the Lorenzo Lamas movie Snake Eater 2, which I do quite like. Because it's actually the same company that made it, and it's some of the same people. But from what I remember, it's basically a remake of that. But it's okay. I can't, complain about it, at least too much. And then we have the third and final movie in the R trilogy, Recoil, which is pretty good stuff here. Pretty fun movie. All 3 of them are pretty fun. I just watched Riot a couple weeks ago, towards the beginning of the month, because it does take place on Christmas. It is a Christmas movie. So there you go. And then this one, he plays a cop. They're going after this mob boss. They get him, and then his family gets killed, and then he goes and gets revenge. But, good stuff in here. I cannot complain. And then it also has Greg McKinney is in it, who played Jax in the first Mortal Kombat movie. Unfortunately, he died, I think, in between the first and the second movie, which is why he didn't play Jax in the second film. So there you go. And then we have Black Friday, which I think this was the one. It looked like it was shot on a digital camera, and it was very low budget. I don't remember too much about this, because a lot of these movies, well, actually, no, I think this one and the next one are the only ones I've seen once each, and I don't really remember. Yeah, I think there's something with a power plant or something like that. The terrorists take over a power plant. I don't remember. I have to watch that one again. But this one, like I said, I've only ever seen this once, but I remember liking it. It's called Fatal Blade, where he goes up against the Yakuza, which, I remember had some good fights and stuff in there. But some of these I have to watch again. And then, yeah, I don't know why he's got a sword on the cover, because I don't think he uses a sword in the movie, at least from what I remember. I'll have to go back and watch those, but definitely need to fill in the gaps. There's some other movies of his, like Cold Vengeance. I need to get that one. I don't have that one, which he got to work with Isaac Florentine. There's a couple other ones that I do like that I need to pick up on DVD, because I don't think, actually, the only movie of his that he starred in that I know was on Blu-ray is Firepower, which is also PM Entertainment. That was the one he did with Chad McQueen, and then The Ultimate Warrior was the bad guy. So I'll have to pick that one up on Blu-ray. But it only came out overseas. It never got a Blu-ray here in America. But oh well. Next up, we have Chappelle Show, the complete series. Why this has never come out on Blu-ray, I don't know. But I do love this show. It's just so funny about Dave Chappelle. Because, you know, I always loved his work. I always thought he was hilarious. But in more recent years, he's canceled because he said stuff that the retards didn't like. Then he's not canceled. Then he is canceled. Then he's not canceled. Like, make your fucking minds up, people. But this is classic. Again, I love this show. I will say, though, like, I understand where he got, you know, to the point where he got tired of people coming up to him and saying, "I'm Rick James, bitch." Yeah, that got fucking annoying really quickly, because when I was a kid and the show was on, and everybody at school was saying it, yeah, it got pretty fucking annoying very quickly, because, you know, he did other characters and stuff on here that honestly I thought was funnier. Like when he did Prince, you know, "You want some pancakes, bitches?" Like, I thought that was funny. Some of the other stuff he did was funny too. So, like the Samuel L. Jackson beer commercial, I thought was hilarious. You know, there's other stuff on there, people. You can't just run with it. But I understand why he got tired of that and why he ended the show and everything. So, you know, it is what it is. Next up we have Inspector Gadget. I don't care. I like this movie. I saw this in the theaters when it originally came out. It was a huge flop. It did not do well. But again, that doesn't mean that it's not a good movie or it's a bad movie. But I like it. I would love to see. It's never going to come out. It's never going to happen. I would love to see the original cut, which was completely different. It was more darker and funnier and edgier. You know, this one, they wanted it to be a kid's movie, but the original intent for it was to have it, you know, being a different kind of movie. But it does have the insert. And, you know, you can't, even if you don't like the movie, you can't tell me that you don't like the Youngstown song. "We can do it automatic. Just call out Go-Go Gadget. I'll be your everything." You know, now you're all going to start singing it. So I don't even want to hear it. Next up, we have the Fast as Hell collection, which these are the other movies that, what's his name? H.B. Halicki did. The guy that did the original Gone in 60 Seconds, which I love the original Gone in 60 Seconds. These are the other movies that he did. Mill Creek put this out. I don't think any of these have ever come out on Blu-ray, but you have The Junkman, Deadline Auto Theft, which most of that I think is just recycled footage from The Junkman and Gone in 60 Seconds, and then they added some new stuff. And then you have what was shot of Gone in 60 Seconds 2, because he was working on the film and then he got killed doing a stunt for the movie. So there you go. So they cobbled together what footage they had of it, and then they put it out as Gone in 60 Seconds 2, but that's it, because it's only 34 minutes. But the Junkman I quite like I said. Deadline Auto Theft, that was, I think, just they recycled a lot of the footage and stuff like that. And then Gone in 60 Seconds 2 is just again, what they were able to salvage of what they filmed. And the shitty thing is they're all on one disc. So you're that's not 4 hours on one disc. That's about where you want to stop. So there you go. At least in my opinion. I put 4 hours on single layer DVDs all the time, and they play fine, they look fine. Anything past 4 hours on a single layer disc, you don't want to do that because you're going to get some compression issues and artifacting, and it's going to look like shit. So there you go. Anyway, moving on, we have The Crow, City of Angels, because there's extra features which is on this DVD that did not end up on the Blu-ray. I do have the Blu-ray, but I think the only extra feature that's on that Blu-ray is the last interview with Brandon Lee. I think is on there. The rest of this stuff did not end up on any of the Blu-ray releases, because you got a making of, you got a commentary, you got some other stuff on here. None of that ended up there. Which, oh well. But again, I talked about this movie plenty of times over the years, and I hate when people write on their fucking shit. So, because you got whoever Pressler is, they wrote that on the front, and then on the disc, they wrote Birdie. I don't know who Birdie is, but Birdie don't have this no more, and neither does Pressler. Fabi's got it, so there you go. I've talked about this movie before. I do like it for what it is, but the problem was that when they were making the film, they wanted it to be its own thing, and then towards the end of the making of the film, and then through editing, the Weinsteins were like, no, we want it to be exactly like the first movie. And it doesn't work. The Crow, and I've talked about this before, and I actually watched The Crow yesterday, but you cannot... the reason why I say that is because you guys remember that shitty remake that came out last year that nobody watched except me because I got paid to watch it. I think Rainbow Ref reviewed it too. There should have never been sequels to The Crow. The TV series I can give the pass because it's Mark Dacascos, but you cannot. That was one of those situations where, everybody talks about the first movie because of what happened to Brandon Lee, not the movie itself. Just, the guy got shot and he died. But because of that, you can't replace Brandon Lee, you can't substitute Brandon Lee, because people are going to just remember that all the time. And they tried and they failed multiple times, but they just can't understand that apparently. Oh well. So there you go. Then we have Napoleon Dynamite, which is weird because I actually had Napoleon Dynamite on Blu-ray at one point, but I got rid of it because at that time I was still thinking DVD was the best. So there you go. But I do need to get this on Blu-ray. I have always liked this film. Now, yes, it got really fucking annoying really quickly when this movie came out because nobody would shut the fuck up about Vote for Pedro, which, by the way, is not the funniest line in the movie. This movie has a ton of funny lines. Like, I'm going to tell Grandma you ate all of our steak and I can throw a football over that mountain and, that stuff. But Vote for Pedro got annoying. Tina, come get your dinner, you fat lard. That got annoying. Give me some of your tots. That got annoying. So people just wore those fucking lines out very quickly. But it is a funny movie. It is hilarious. I do really like it. And I do need to get the Blu-ray. And Tina Margarino was still, to this day, still fucking cute. I still got a crush on her. So there you go. Whether it was that movie or Waterworld or Andre, the movie about the seal, which we'll cover, I think, soon. I'm trying to see if it's over in these piles. Maybe it's not. I don't know. Oh, well. And then we have the Napoleon Dynamite cartoon, which I actually watched this when it was originally on. It was not on long. I think it was only like 6 episodes. 6 or 7 episodes. It was 6 episodes. It was not on long. But again, I did watch it when it was on, and I really liked it. And I don't know why this has not come out on Blu-ray. But it is pretty funny. Like I said, I think it was too late, because it was like 8 years after the movie came out. I think people lost interest. But I thought it was funny. I did like it. It didn't go anywhere. But it's got some good stuff. And then the last one for this pile, we have another PM Entertainment movie. We have Fist of Honor with Flash Gordon himself, Sam Jones. This is cool. He's like a underground fighter, you know, and he's got to fight for the mob and stuff. There's like a mob war going on, and he's caught in the middle and stuff. But it's not bad. Really good cast, though. Sam Jones, always really liked him, whether it was Flash Gordon or any of the other stuff that he was in. Harry Guardino, who was in some of the Dirty Harry films. Abe Vigoda's in here. A bunch of good actors in. Bubba Smith from Police Academy. Can't go wrong with him. Hightower. So, yeah, good stuff. Not a bad PM Entertainment movie. I found this at Kmart for like $5 or something back in the day. So, you know, good stuff. All right. So, now on to the next pile. And some of these are dusty, so pardon me. But first up, sorry, I had to burp. And again, Freaky Friday. Always really enjoyed this movie. I did not see the sequel. The sequel actually did very well financially, but I didn't hear anybody talk about it, so I guess it was just nostalgia bait, and it didn't bring anything new to the table. Plus, Jamie Lee Curtis became a professional retard, so there's that. But luckily, Lindsay Lohan is actually doing very well. She got sober, which is most important, and she got married. I think she's got 2 kids. So good for her. I'm glad everything's good, and she's still hot, so there you go. But I always really liked this film. You know, I thought it was a classic. I think the first time I actually watched this was in school, because I think it was around this time of the year. I think it was around Christmas. You know, you guys, at least when I went to school, that last week before Christmas break, you're not really doing much. So we would sit out in the hallway. Well, not the hallway. They called them webs, because they did look like a spider's web. How the school was built, there would be like the hub for like, it would be like 5th grade, 6th grade. Then you go to the other side, it'd be 7th grade, 8th grade when I was in middle school. And they would call it the web, because again, it did look like a spider's web, and you'd have all the classrooms. And we would sit out in the web and we would watch movies. And we watched Freaky Friday when it first came out, which is pretty cool. On VHS, that is. Now, this is on Blu-ray, but of course it's fucking Disney, and they didn't put any of the extra features on the Blu-ray. And there's a couple deleted scenes and stuff like that, but you know, why don't they do that? Because they're fucking lazy. So that's why I don't have the Blu-ray, but one day I will get the Blu-ray. I'll probably keep the DVD though. Next up, we have Swamp Thing, Guardian of the Earth, which is actually the complete animated series, which was only 5 episodes. I think it was similar to what they did with Ninja Turtles. I think they did it as a mini-series to see if it would work, and then it didn't work, so then they didn't do anything more. But yes, there was a Swamp Thing cartoon back, actually, I think the live action series was running at the same time, so there you go. But I didn't see this until a couple years ago when I bought this DVD. This is out of print, and it is expensive. I think I shopped around a little bit and was able to get it decently priced. Again, I don't know what it goes for now, because again, after I buy something, I typically don't look at the prices anymore. But yeah, this is actually the complete series. Sterling put this out. I remember them back in the day. They did a lot of budget VHS tapes. I had a bunch of those when I was a kid, because they were always at the dollar store and stuff. Excuse me, but they did put out the Swamp Thing complete cartoon, so there's that. It's not bad, but like I said, I think it was one of those situations where it was like a test to see if it would work, and it just didn't happen. You know, but that's okay. Next up, actually a screener. In terms of screeners, I've only... With DVDs, I still have... I never got rid of them. I still have all the ones. I don't have many. I just never really got into the screener DVDs. VHS, we'll save that for when I get to the VHS, because there was a time when I bought screeners like fucking crazy. But I don't have many left. But oh well. And I only have, again, a handful of DVD screeners. But I do have Freddy vs. Jason as a screener, because I really like the packaging on this. I like that, you know, Freddy Claw the Mask and Start the Year Off with Fear, or Start the Year with Fear, whatever. And then you get all of the, the statistical information in there, all the data, and then it opens up again, largest horror box office opening, which at the time that the movie came out was true. 80% of moviegoers rated it as excellent, because back then, I don't know if they still do, but back in the day, a lot of the theaters, after you saw the movie, they would do a survey. 78% of men said they would buy the DVD, $82 million box office, all that kind of stuff, all the statistical information once again. Movie only, no bonus features included. This screener contains the widescreen feature only. Portions of this feature will turn black and white periodically for screening purposes. This does not occur in the final released product. The reason why they would do that for the screeners is so people wouldn't bootleg them. But people would do that anyway, so there you go. Number one movie 2 weeks in a row. Nightmare on Elm Street, $362 million domestic box office lifetime, all that shit. So there's that. And then here's the back. But I do really like the artwork. I think I got this for like a couple bucks off of eBay or whatever. I was like, why not? I do like Freddy vs. Jason. Again, I really like the presentation and the artwork. What the hell, man? I like this kind of stuff. Sequels drive sales. Video sales increased 288% for Rush Hour. Because Rush Hour 2 is awesome. That's why. But very cool. And like I said, I only have a couple left, or again, not left over. I never really got crazy with the DVD screener. So there you go. Next up, we got Grind, which I did not see this movie until like a year or two ago for the first time. I remember when this came out, this was such a big deal. They really pushed this movie. They really hyped it. I don't think it did anything at the box office, but it's actually pretty fun. It's a pretty fun, early 2000s skateboarding movie. Again, the very cute Jennifer Morrison from Urban Legend Final Cut is in. I think she was on House as well. Adam Brody is in it, who would go on to do a bunch of stuff, but not a bad film in my opinion. Bam Margera has a cameo in this, and then once again we got the good old Schnapper case DVDs, but not on Blu-ray. Probably will never come out on Blu-ray. But like I said, I do remember that like the TV spot would always run, and they really pushed it, and of course, Bam was on Viva La Bam at the time. He had his own show, so they were really running that, making that a big deal. Next up, we have American Outlaws. I do like this film. It's not the greatest movie ever made, but I do like it. They were, in the early 2000s, they were trying to get Westerns going again, and it really didn't work. This movie was a big flop. Texas Rangers, which came out around the same time, was a huge flop. I think that was, for a while, one of the biggest box office flops of all time. Open Range did well, the Kevin Costner movie, which I do have that somewhere. But they were trying to make it happen. They were trying to do like another Young Guns type of movie. It didn't make any money. But I do like it for what it is. That's just me. And then again, it's a snapper case. But this one is special because then it flips open again. So they were doing that for a little bit. But I've always liked Colin Farrell as an actor. I've always liked Scott Conn. Ali Larter is a babe, so there you go. Timothy Dalton is in this as the bad guy, so I do have a little bit of a soft spot for it. I can't complain. Again, it's fucking Timothy Dalton. Who else is in it? Gabriel Macht is in it. Gregory Smith from Small Soldiers. Will McCormack, who played Dr. Melfi's son on The Sopranos. And his name is not on the back here, but the kid, well, not a kid, he's older than me. The guy that played Dwayne Robinson in Mighty Ducks, the guy from Texas, he's in it too. Like, I was watching the movie, I'm like, why the fuck does that guy look so familiar? Like, oh, it's Dwayne from the Mighty Ducks. But there you go. Then we got Steele's Law with Fred the Hammer Williamson. It's alright, not a bad little B movie. First time I saw this there was a guy that I used to be friends with, and his stepdad actually had this on DVD, and I borrowed it once. But it's okay. It's alright. Then we got Recess, School's Out. Absolutely love this movie. I don't know why this... Oh, it's because it's Disney. But I don't know why this has never come out on Blu-ray. And I also don't know why the hell the series has never come out on DVD. I love Recess. It's always one of my favorite Disney shows. But this is one, and I have it in the other room. My grandparents had this on VHS. So every time me and my brother would go spend the summer with them, we would watch this all the time. So there you go. But still love this movie. Still a lot of fun. And James Woods played the bad guy that wanted to destroy Recess. So you can't go wrong with that. Can't go wrong with James Woods in your movie as far as I'm concerned. Alright, next up we're going to get into a couple of cartoons that never came out on DVD here in America. These are all the Region 2 UK releases, European releases, whatever you want to call them. So first up, and these are all out of print, and some of these are more expensive than others, but I shopped around and found them for decent prices. So there you go. But first up, we have Bucky O'Hare, which was Star Fox before Star Fox, basically. But really fun cartoon. It was all these only lasted one season as well. But yeah, it's about this kid that gets transported to this world, and it's like Star Fox, but good stuff there. It was, again, I think a lot of these, what people don't realize is back in the day, a lot of times, kind of like they are, well, I guess now they still are, but a lot of these cartoons were made to sell toys. If the toys didn't sell well, the cartoon typically got canceled, which I think was the situation with all three of these shows. Then we have Dino Riders, which I did have, when I was a kid, I did have one of the VHS tapes. I have no clue what happened to it. I think my dad took it to the flea market like he did with a lot of the other VHS tapes I had. But I do have it on DVD here. Which this one, I think there was a comic. Bucky O'Hare had a comic as well. But like I said, I think if the toys didn't sell well, the shows got canceled. That's how it would work back then. And then we have Visionaries, Knights of the Magical Light. So there we go. Again, another one that the toys didn't sell. You gotta go. So there's that. And a lot of these Visionaries I heard about, I think through Zaran Izarak, who I used to watch a lot. I don't watch really anymore because he's another one that lost his fucking mind. Dino Riders, like I said, I had the VHS as a kid. And then Bucky O'Hare, I remember hearing about this through a couple of different people. And then there was a video game, there was an arcade game that came out, and a bunch of other stuff too. Next up, we have Tremors, the complete series. I actually really like this show. I watched it when it was originally on the Sci-Fi Channel back in the day. The problem was, like so many other shows, they aired all the episodes out of order because Sci-Fi Channel clearly didn't know what they were doing. On the DVD, they are presented in the proper order, though, but they didn't re-edit there's one episode that they re-edited because they aired it later, and then it was talking about events that didn't happen yet, or events that weren't shown on television yet, so they had to re-edit portions of the episode to make it fit. But they didn't fix it for the DVD, but it is in the proper order. I think in the beginning it did well, but as the show progressed, the ratings went down, and then they eventually canceled the show. But like I said, I used to watch it. I think I watched pretty much every episode when it was originally on. Maybe one or two I missed here and there, but I was excited about this show because as a kid, when I first got into Tremors, I think it was around this time, a little bit before this, and I was like, wait, there's going to be a Tremors TV series, and Bert's going to be in it? Like, I got to watch that. So yeah, I did watch, I think, pretty much the entire run when it was on. But I still like it. It would be cool if it came out on Blu-ray, but I don't think it's going to happen unless somebody, maybe like a Kino. Well, I don't know. Kino, because Kino put out Columbo, and they put out Monk, and those are Universal TV shows. They put out Kolchak the Night Stalker. Maybe Kino. I don't know. But it would be cool if the Tremors series would get a Blu-ray release, you know, because it was shot on film, so it's not like it was shot on videotape. So we'll see. We shall see, won't we? Alright. We'll go a couple more minutes here and then we'll wrap this up. But then, something a little different. We have a bootleg of Phantasm 2. This is the complete edition. This is a German bootleg that came out many, many years ago. I remember hearing about this, when I first started getting into Phantasm and stuff back in the day. Because once again, as we talked about in the last part with the box sets, for whatever reason, I don't know why, but Universal just never put out Phantasm 2 until like 2009 on DVD. So a lot of people were trying to get this DVD for a while. And then they got, the Anchor Bay overseas DVD that I have, in the box set and everything. So I don't know what the source of this is. I think it might have been that Anchor Bay DVD, but the movie is in perfect quality. It does not look like a bootleg. And then there's a bunch of extra features on here. It's got the work print. We have trailers, TV spots, photo galleries, behind-the-scenes footage of the making of the movie, Phantasm convention footage, Fangoria convention footage, Angus Scrimm Q&A from back in the day, so all sorts of stuff. But luckily I randomly found it on eBay and I just bought it because I'm like, if I don't buy it, someone else is going to buy it. And then I'm going to be pissed because you're never going to find it again. So there you go. But yeah, it is a bootleg. It is not an official release. But it's a very fancy bootleg because it is a pressed disc. It's not a burned disc. And it's got a bunch of extras and such on here. And I don't know. Maybe you would be able to find this. Maybe if you look hard enough, you will find it. But definitely one of my prized possessions at least in my DVDs, because I love Phantasm 2. But again, people don't realize, because now everything's on fucking streaming, everything is a click away. But there was a time when movies were really hard to find, and Phantasm 2 was one of those movies. As I said before, for the longest time, for whatever reason, Universal Studios refused to put that out on DVD. Don Coscarelli had to go to court to find out what the fuck was going on with it. Nobody got sued, but he had to get, again, courts involved to find out, why are you refusing to put this out on DVD? And there was never a reason given. And if I ever meet Don Coscarelli, that's what I would ask him. Were you ever told, or did you ever find out why they just refused to put it out on DVD? Because I remember the VHS being hundreds of dollars on eBay. The first time I saw Phantasm 2 was on Cinemax, because they were running it on cable at the time, so I recorded it onto a VHS tape, which I still have that VHS tape, actually. And then it wasn't until 2009 when they finally put it out on DVD, because they licensed Phantasm 3 to Anchor Bay, which, hey, that would be, very interesting to ask the guys at Dead Pit when they do their Anchor Bay podcast, when they get Michael Felsher on there. Hey, did you guys ever try to get Phantasm 2, or, what was the deal with that? I'd love to ask those guys that. So many questions about Anchor Bay I'd love to ask. So it's just, for whatever reason, again, they refused to do it. So, we had bootleg DVDs to live off of for a while, so there you go. Next up, we have another person that went full retard, but this is before they went full retard. But some George Lopez stand-up. I really like his sitcom. I have to get I think I have the first couple seasons. I have to get the other, I think the last two are the only ones I don't have. But this is before he went really fucking political and woke and everything, just to stay relevant. But we got Why You Crying, which this one's hilarious. I really like this one. And then we have America's Mexican, which is also funny. But here, because this was, 2007, not that I'm a fan of George Bush, because I'm not, but here he starts getting more into the political stuff and everything. And it's just really fucking annoying, okay? Again, I've said this a million times. I'm going to keep saying it because it's true. I really don't give a fuck what side you're on. I don't give a fuck what you believe. Okay, just shut up. Nobody cares. Keep it to your fucking self. Leave me alone. Alright, don't fucking try to murder me because I don't agree with you or whatever, like they did to Charlie Kirk and other people. Okay, like, it's let's move on. I'm tired of talking about it. Anyway, we have this award-winning classic here, Rangers. No, not really. But this was one of those movies where they take a lot of stock footage from other films. I would love to know, number one, how they were legally, how were they able to, all these movies that got made, how were they able to make all these movies where they just took stock footage? Like this one's got footage, I think, from Navy SEALs and Delta Force and some other films. How were they able to get away with all this legally? I just don't understand that. And number two, like, just why? Like, why were you that fucking lazy? But this is one of those movies that did that. But what's weird is there's a commentary track with Matt McCoy and the director. Now, the director is credited as Jay Andrews. I think it's actually Fred Olen Ray, if I'm not mistaken. So there you go. But yeah, they just took footage from all these movies and put it together, and there you have it. But I don't know why I find these movies appealing or interesting in some way, shape, or form, but I do. Maybe it's because I'm fucking nuts. I don't know. So there's that. Then we have the Wild Thornberrys movie, which I don't have the series. I need to get the series because I actually always really liked the Wild Thornberrys. I used to watch it back in the day. Why the movie has never come out on Blu-ray, I don't know, but I do have it here on DVD, so I can't complain. But I like the movie. I do like the series. Like I said, I do need to grab the series at some point because I remember a couple years ago, I think I even made a video about it. I was at a Walmart and they had the series for like $20. I was like, cool, but they put the spider wrap on it so nobody steals it. People are going to steal it anyway. But they dig the spider wrap into the packaging and it damages the packaging. And I think the case was busted and like one of the discs was popped out of the tray, so it was in there rattling around. And I'm like, I'm not fucking spending my money on that. So there you go. Alright, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to end it here. And we'll pick back up in the next part. But yeah, now we're getting into the top shelves here. Like I said, I'll just sit down on the floor, be comfortable, and I'll just start picking shelves off of the shelves off of... My God, I'm tired. I'm sorry. Start picking stacks off of the shelves if I can speak English properly. And we'll just we'll keep it rolling. So I can't talk. We'll talk to you guys on the next one later.